Hello, Kinder. I've got a book here that Miss Hannah gave me, and you may not know it, but Miss Hannah's a YouTuber, and that means she's going to take these little videos of me reading the book, and she's going to put them on a YouTube. So isn't that great? So I'm going to read this in bits so that I can send it to Miss Hannah. And this book is called The Snail and the Whale. And I'll show you the pictures as we go along. And it's by a lady called Julia Donaldson, who's very famous. So here we have, oh gosh, a huge whale and a snail. Here we go. The Snail and the Whale. This is a tale of a tiny snail and a great big grey-blue humpback whale. This is a rock, I can see it here, as black as soot, and this is a snail with an itchy foot. The sea snail slithered all over the rock and gazed at the sea and the ships in the dock. And as she gazed, she sniffed and sighed. The sea is deep and the world is wide. How I long to sail, said the tiny snail. We've got two pictures here, so I'm going to show you. There's the black rock. There's the snail. And look, here's a ship. And the big ocean. And the birds. You can see the sea there? These are the other snails in the flock, who all stuck tight to the smooth black rock, and said to the snail with the itchy foot, "Be quiet, don't wriggle. Don't wriggle, sit still, stay put." But the tiny sea snail sighed and sniffed, then cried, "I've got it. I'll hitch a lift." This is the trail of the tiny snail, a silvery trail that looped and curled and said, "Lift wanted around the world." That's on the black rock. And there's a ship here called Pride of Glasgow. Glasgow's in a place called Scotland. So here is the rock, and here is the, well, there's another rock there. And there's that ship up there. This is the whale who came one night when the tide was high and the stars were bright. A humpback whale immensely long, who sang to the snail a wonderful song of shimmering ice and coral caves and shooting stars and enormous waves. And this is the tale of the humpback whale. He held it out of the starlit sea and said to the snail, "Come, sail with me." You're going to see how big this whale is. Look, what a big, there's the moon. Look at the mouth, and there's the whale. Whoa, look, there's the tail. And here's another picture of the tail. And there's the snail on the tail. This is the sea, so wild and free, that carried the whale and the snail on his tail to towering, big, towering icebergs and far-off lands. You can see some penguins there, can't you? Look at all the ice. Big tail, big, big tail. And there's the whale. Wow. That is one big whale. With fiery mountains and golden sands. And here there's a volcano. You'll see the volcano erupting with the hot rock coming out of the volcano. There's the volcano. We have volcanoes in Mexico, don't we? These are the waves that arched and crashed, that foamed and frolicked and sprayed and splashed. The tiny snail on the tail of the whale. These are the caves beneath, down there, beneath the waves, where the stripy fish with feathery fins and sharks with hideous toothy grins swam round the whale and the snail on his tail. So here are the big waves crashing and splashing. You can just see the snail on the tail. And here's underground. Look at that shark with a funny smile. Very funny smile. Toothy grin. There we see. All right. I better take my fingers out of the way or they might bite them. This is the sky so vast and high, sometimes sunny and blue and warm, sometimes filled with a thunderstorm, with zigzag lightning. Lightning. You know, light in the sky. Flashing and frightening the tiny snail on the tail of the whale. And there's that lightning. You're going to see the lightning. So here is the whale. And there's some rain. And then now this is the lightning. The word I said incorrectly. It's lightning. In Spanish you say rayos. Lightning. Okay. And she gazed at the sky, the sea, the land, the waves and the caves and the golden sand. She gazed and gazed, amazed by it all. And she said to the whale, I feel so small. That looks like a bear, an eagle, and a whale with a snail. But then came the day. The whale lost his way. These are the speedboats running a race, zigging and zooming all over the place, upsetting the whale with their ear-splitting roar, making him swim too close to the shore, to the beach. This is the tide. The water slipping away. I think the whale's going to get stuck. So here are the speedboats. I don't know if have you been in a speedboat? They're really fast. And then here's this whale, but the water's gonna go and leave him. Gotta be careful. And this is the whale lying beached, I told you, in a bay. Quick, off the sand, back to sea, cried the snail. I can't move on land, I'm too big, moaned the whale. Then the snail felt helpless and terribly small. Then, I've got it, she cried, and started to crawl. I must not fail, said the tiny snail. So this is called a beached whale. No water, and they can't do anything. And the snail has left, and there's the snail going on a journey. All right? Okay. Here's some children. This is the bell, ding-dong, on the school in the bay, ringing the children in from their play. This is the teacher holding her chalk, telling the class, sit straight, don't talk. This is the board as black as soot. And this is the snail with the itchy foot, our friend. A snail, a snail! The teacher turns pale. Look, say the children, it's leaving a trail. This is the trail of the tiny snail, a silvery trail saying, on the board, save the whale. So, they're the children and the teacher. That's the bell. And look, the snail, because you know the snails leave a kind of a silvery thing behind them, writing on the board, save the whale. These are the children running from school, fetching the fireman digging a pool, squirting and spraying to keep the whale cool, because whales like water to keep them cool. So let's do them first. The children running, the firemen rushing to the whale, and there they are, spraying water on the whale to keep it cool. Because the whales have to keep cool. You know that. This is the tide, the water, coming into the bay. And these are the villagers shouting, hooray! Can you shout hooray? Hooray! As the whale and the snail travel safely away. And so here is the water coming back in. It's called the tide, high tide, the water coming in. And look, the whale saying, thank you very much. And the children saying, bye. And the whale's racing away. But it's not the end of the story. Back to the clock. I can't read. Back to the dock. and the flock on the rock, who said, "How time's flown, and haven't you grown?" And the whale and the snail told their wonderful tale of shimmering ice and coral caves, and shooting stars and enormous waves, and how the small snail, so small and frail, with her looping, curling, silvery trail, saved the life of the humpback whale. Then the humpback whale held out his tail, and on crawled snail after snail after snail. Lots of snails. So there is the whale, and here are lots of snails. Can you see all those snails on the rock? Lots of them. And they sang to the sea as they all set sail on the tail of the grey-blue humpback whale. And this is a beautiful picture to end the story, to end part 5. And you'll see, I think, a lot of animals on the tail. And I think you know what they are. Are you ready? Really? Are you sure? So there's the moon and the whales sailing along. And can you see, I'm going to put it close, can you see the tail? And what animals are on the tail? Yeah, you got it. Snails, lots of them. Well, I hope you really liked that story. And now we've got to give a job to Miss Hannah, who's going to take the 5 parts and load them up onto YouTube. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. With all the 5 parts, we make one story. The snail and the whale. I hope you liked it. Goodbye.